Doesn't really seem like there's much else for me to do. Let's talk to people. Isn't the stillness of the night, the whispers of the waves at the shore? They're just repeating stuff they've said before. Do we just want to go over here? Only the Alm of Darkness and Alm of Light need to be named. Then your pilgrimage can truly begin. Wonder what kind of people they'll be. Well, the Alm of Wood needs to come here, don't they? Isn't that like a thing? And what happens when the Alm of the Earth doesn't show up? Like, did they not name another one? Can I go in here finally? No, I was gonna go see Hina. Okay, well. I have a new controller coming in the mail tomorrow that I'm very excited about. It's an 8-bit do Xbox Lite SE 2 with Hall effect joysticks. It's an accessibility controller, which might seem weird because that I'm excited about it because I am a completely able-bodied person. But the idea, I really like big controllers that have all the buttons on them, like easily accessible, so that I can play them.
Her room's gotta be around here, right?
Easily. Makes my hands feel better.
There's someone there.
What's Val up to, I wonder?
Heya!
What is with this? It's so animated. It's so fun. It's very Aladdin core.
It's just me!
Val?
I figured you might be lonely, so I wanted to check and make sure everything's okay.
Oh, you thought I was the lonely one? But you weren't lonely at all, right?
No, of course not. In fact, I was busy making plans for the trip.
Ah, yes. The picture of Soul Guard preparedness.
That's right.
I think this cutscene was animated by an entirely different team than the last few. That was really cute. That was really, like, lively and fun.
Joking aside, I realized I'm more weak-willed than I thought.
Hina?
If I'm being completely honest, I'm scared.
Scared of what?
Completing my duty as the Alm and sacrificing my soul. It's terrifying. When we set out on this journey, I hadn't really thought about the consequences of becoming the Alm. Of what I'd really be giving up. I never questioned my role before. It's ingrained in our traditions, after all. Our purpose in this world has always been to continue our way of life. The Alms are how we protect the future. But now, after traveling to all these exotic locations and meeting so many different people, both good and bad, I realized... Never mind. I'm probably overthinking it.
I think I love this game. It's just,
What's up?
Eoren!
Sorry for eavesdropping. Can I ask? If you two could be together forever, would you? Continue living your lives as you are now, until you both grow old and gray. If you never want to let each other go, I can make that happen. I can show you a future free of the Alms sacrifice. If you trust me, come to the pier by the market before sunrise. I'll be waiting.
No more alms. Do you think a future without sacrifices is possible?
But what'll happen to us and our mission?
I want to hear what Eoren has to say.
Hina?
Okay, let's go talk to Eoren. Do you remember when we were kids and I got hopelessly lost just outside of the village?
Oh, yeah. Once I noticed you were gone, I ran out to search for you. When I found you, you were crying, which made me cry.
I know you must have been scared, but it meant a lot that you came to look for me anyway.
Of course, Hina. Even when we were little, I didn't want to be apart from you.
Me too. Val, You know, I've always...
Hina?
Never mind. It can wait until after we meet up with Eoren.
It feels like the shoe is about to drop, so I'm going to use this as an opportunity to just talk about this game and why I like it so much. This is the most I have felt like a game has channeled a 1990s JRPG since I played Final Fantasy IX originally when it came out. This game is so... this is the most passionately positive I have felt about a game that mechanically and like ludonarratively I don't really think is that special in a very long time. And let me like explain that a little bit. The combat in this game is fine and serviceable. I'm actually very glad that it seems to have at least a little bit more depth than Final Fantasy 16, because we solved Final Fantasy 16 5 minutes in and it never got deeper. And this has crazy skill trees and stuff, and while it is a little bit shallow in that regard, with like everyone having like it's really just like 3 classes spread out across like 10 different elements, or whatever. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, so it's like 3 classes per character spread out across 8 elements is what it seems like it's going to be. But like the way you play and the elemental stuff in this is actually kind of interesting and overlaid uniquely. And so I like that aspect of it. And mechanically though, it is just like a hack and slash, piss easy baby mode first ARPG ever, easier than Kingdom Hearts. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm playing on hard mode. And like, yeah, we've died a few times and stuff. Like, that's to be expected. Things will happen. But what I'm saying is, like, mechanically speaking and intellectually, the mechanics are not particularly challenging or difficult, and the encounters are not particularly challenging and difficult. And dare I say, this game might actually be kind of grindy in a way that I don't love. But everything else about this game is so fucking earnest. And it's not doing things... This is a big trapping I really don't like of like modern JRPG revivals and modern SNES era throwback games and stuff like that, is that it often feels like they're performing the aesthetics of old games while also not really being as mechanically ambitious or interesting as them. What do I mean by that? Play a modern JRPG and it'll be like, it has turn-based combat where you can attack and you have magic and you have an item menu. Why? Because Final Fantasy did it. Like, there's never... Back then, when games were coming out for the SNES and the PS1 and the PS2, games were extremely experimental because the foundations and the aesthetics were not particularly solidified, right? So, even games that were a dime a dozen, like JRPGs, all had this sort of, like, unique ambiguity to them. Even easy ones, where it's like you could just auto-battle through everything, they had their own textures because... no one really knew what they were doing. And nowadays, playing a game like, I don't know, like a Soul Hackers 2, as an example, which I've only played a little bit of, but it really struck this issue, was like, Soul Hackers 2 feels like a JRPG that someone made from the concept of like, what if we made a modern JRPG and then they slapped the Soul Hackers name on it as like, oh yeah, and like this is an IP from a long time ago, and so it's a revival of that IP, and it has some of its aesthetics, but like everything else underneath it is like vanilla to a fault, like extremely plain and uninteresting. This game, Visions of Mana, has a lot of very generic elements to it. It's like optimistic utopian fantasy. They're going on a quest to take the people to the tree for MacGuffin reasons. It's a battle of light and dark for the good and evil of the world, and like all the characters are really tropey. There's like a knightly man who's like chivalrous and kind. There's the main character boy who's like a go-getter shonen hero. There's his like childhood friend who he's clearly in love with, who is like a priestess with an important task. But the thing is, all of these elements come together in such an earnest way, and it doesn't feel like they're doing it for the sake of assembling these tropes so that they resemble an old thing, which is crazy, because this game is a revival of an old series that hasn't had a game in like a decade or more. Let's see, the last one came out in 2006, I want to say, probably earlier than that, 2004 maybe. So 20 years. It's been 20 years since we had a true Mana game, like a new entry in this series come out. Not, Trials of Mana remake notwithstanding. So it's just like, it's just crazy to play this game that's assembled from like what should be a dime a dozen tropes, but feels so fucking unique and like singular. This game doesn't feel like anything I've ever played other than Visions of Mana. And of course, it has smacks of Final Fantasy IX and smacks of Crystal Chronicles, and it has pieces that are easily identifiable as Square Enix and as Mana. But like, even though it has all of these like tropey generic aspects to it, it's played so sincerely that I do not believe the people who made this game made it because they just wanted to ape a thing that existed and like assemble the pieces like they're going through a checklist. I started off this game thinking Val was going to be annoying, and I love him dearly and want to protect him because he's such a nice person. And the thing is they're not just doing shorthand either. A lot of these games fall into this issue of using their troped characters in shorthand situations to like demonstrate their character without fleshing them out. But we've had scenes with Val saying and like being nice to Hina and talking about their past and elucidating us to their, or illuminating their past to us so that we understand where they come from. So no longer does Val feel like a generic shonen protagonist who is just happy-go-lucky because that's what Naruto was, or that's what, any other shonen protag would be. He's not just a happy-go-lucky guard guy who like loves his childhood friend because that's what shonen protagonists are. We just genuinely get the feeling that he cares for Hina because they have a shared childhood, and like he's dedicated his entire life to be a soul guard to her, and that's like really sincere. And she just mentioned like everything about this journey is about protecting their traditions. I actually understand that. It doesn't feel arbitrary to me because these characters have been displayed as actually caring about their traditions and truly, to use a loaded term, like they are indoctrinated into their own culture, which is super just plainly demonstrated in the video game. There's, I've made jokes about like, wow, people are just so happy to go get sacrificed and stuff, but like this world operates off that concept. It's so well illustrated that even though it's so tropey and so obvious, and like, I saw Palomina and she's in her disguise, and like, yes, obviously, if you have any sense, you understand immediately that this is going to be a player character. Like I mentioned with like the Hanna-Barbera cell shadows, right? Like when objects are going to move in an animated series because they're on a different layer than everything else. Of course that's still there with this game, but and of course some of the conflicts and the resolutions are shallow in a video gamey sense, but it's still doing the work to portray these characters and their circumstances in a way that's like extremely rich and fulfilling, which is so weird. It's so weird and unique, and it feels like when video games were experimental and odd. It is a crying shame that this game is not getting more attention and didn't sell a million. This is the game people have wanted for so long. It's crazy that this wasn't Final Fantasy 16. This is bananas. This is just, it's so joyful and fun and interesting, and like I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about fun in video games. I've said this a million times. I think games should be more than fun. They should strive to be more than fun. And like thinking that all video games should ultimately just be a fun time is like, I think that's foolish because it's very limiting towards art. But this game is just so earnestly itself with no pretense at all. It is not trying to be the heart-sweeping nostalgic journey that's gonna blow the socks off and win Game of the Year. It really is just like, hey, we had an idea for a story, here's us doing that idea, it's very cute, here are the aesthetic principles that we want to align with, let's do it. And like, that is so fucking rare, especially in the JRPG space. Like, everyone's trying to do something new, everyone's trying to HDify and call back to the greats and supersede them, and like, I honestly feel like this game has no ego at all. Like, this game is not releasing with like this grand ambition of being the greatest video game ever or the most emotional story ever told. It just is an idea that is perfectly executed upon for what it's trying to be, and that elevates it into this incredibly sincere, true and honest throwback ARPG that I just never expected would exist right now. And there's elements of this. This is what I mean when I say like this is the most passionate I've felt about a game that I do not think is particularly incredible from like a mechanical or ludonarrative standpoint. Like, the mechanics of this game and the UI of this game are like kind of mediocre. Look at these menus. There's no style or flash in them at all. There's a guide section that just is giving us play-by-plays and just fucking look at this. Haven't we gotten past this in video games? You know what I mean? I'm saying this as the Elden Ring lore reader. Haven't we gotten past dictionaries with just a million entries, codexes? But the thing is that this game just believes in itself so much that it just does it. It just has it in here. And it's not a downside. I don't need to read this. I don't need to summarize what mana is. You all know what mana is. The Gaians originally hail from Guju. You knew that. I knew that. The Gourd Gaian hasn't even shown up. Who cares? But like, it's here. It's here. This is the kind of game that 10 years from now, there will be a 35-minute long Did You Know gaming video about it. Talking about all the little side quests and Easter eggs. This shit doesn't get made anymore. This fucking rules. This is the best okay game I've ever played. Not literally, maybe. I'd have to think about that statement. That's very superlative. But I just... even if this game isn't my number one game of the year this year, this game is like... from like a pure enjoyment standpoint, this game is really carrying my mental health right now. Like, it cannot be overstated how genuinely refreshing this game has been. I really like this. And I like it a lot. And all of the things that would normally... and granted, this is like an aesthetic issue, but like, I really don't like traditional anime stuff. I know I've said that a bunch in the past, and I know it sounds weird because I speak Japanese and lived in Japan, and like, anime is the backbone of my cultural understanding of media, but I don't like I've slowly grown out of the anime tropiness of like especially Japanese video games, and like it's one of the reasons why I've never jived with like the Tales games, for example. I don't really like them very much, and I've never found them particularly aesthetically engaging. And same with like Xenoblade. Like, I don't really like Xenoblade for those reasons, but this game doesn't feel like that to me. I'm sure there are elements that are similar to them, but there's aspects of this that feel like so wholly unique and like calling back to the inspirations that Secret of Mana had with old school cartoons and like French animation and stuff like that too. It's just like, it's so unique and friendly and roving, but it has high stakes, and there's philosophy in here, but it's not overbearing. It's just so interesting, and I love it. I want to eat this game up. It's just so good. I think more games should be this. I think we need more games like this, of this quality, and budget and ambition. And I say that, I mean, maybe that's damning with faint praise, but I don't think that this game is crazy ambitious I mean, it has ambitions, but what I'm saying is it's not trying to be, you know, the next big thing. I'm sure everyone wanted it to be the next big thing, but like, I don't think it was made with the intent of chasing that, is what I mean. It just is trying to be itself, and that fucking rules. That kicks so much ass. Fuck yeah, this game rocks.
We left without telling anybody. Do you think we should have included the rest of the group in this? They're Alms too.
True, but it's already late. And I know that Karina, for one, was exploring the palace from top to bottom. I bet she's fast asleep by now. Also, I get the feeling that everyone else has already come to terms with their role as Alms. But I just can't. I don't want to have to give all of this up. I want to keep living my life. And now that I've realized that, I know that what I really want is to stay here and keep making memories with you, Val.
Wow.
It's silly, but I don't want the others to see how selfish I've become. How unworthy I am to be an Alm.
Don't say that! You were personally chosen by an elemental spirit. You'll make a fantastic Alma Fire.
Thanks, Val. That does actually make me feel better.
You're not the only selfish one. I wish I could keep traveling with you forever. Not to the Mana Tree, just anywhere. And everywhere. But I don't know how much stock we can put in Oren's plan. If there's no other choice, I think it's our duty to see this pilgrimage through.
Agreed. I accepted the title, and I will do what needs to be done. But I'd like to know our options first. You know, you're a pretty good soul guard, Val.
Oh, and it's just so
I
sincere.
was scared to talk about how I was feeling. I thought maybe the others, or even you, Val, might be disappointed in me.
Hina, nothing you say would ever make me think less of you. And I know the rest of the convoy feels the same. They'd listen to what you have to say.
You're right. I'll talk to everyone when we get back.
But first, we gotta hear Oren out.
Man. Video games. Sometimes they're good. And sometimes that's enough. And it's so... I'm like euphoric over how much I like this. It's been a very long time since I played a game that makes me feel like this much of a kid again. And I don't mean that in the vapid nostalgic way. I mean, like, literally, there is a sense of wonder in this that is just so delightful. And I want to live in this. You know what I mean? It's just special. People should cherish things like this. This is what the modern games industry has effectively destroyed. And even in the case of this game, fucking Ouka got shut down. Fuck them. Fuck Tencent, or whoever it was that did that. I don't remember. The parent company. I think it was because of Tencent. I don't remember. The Square Enix, whatever. Whoever greenlit this studio getting shut down, shame on you. Fuck. This game rocks.
Good. You're willing to take a chance on me.
We want to hear you out, at least. What is it that you plan to do? How can you make it so that alms aren't needed? Won't the world fall to ruin if the alms don't sacrifice their souls to the mana tree and replenish the depleted mana power?
It won't. I'm going to change the unjust laws of fate that rule this world of ours. I can fix it all, and the world will be better for it. For people like Hina and Liza.
Liza? You mean like Liza?
It figures you'd know her. She was a soul guard from Tiania like you. After she completed her mission, we settled down together. She's the love of my life.
Oh, we heard she got married, but didn't know who her partner was.
Is she okay? Where is she?
She's around. Still in Guju, actually. 4 years ago, she was named the Alm of Earth.
Liza became an Alm? But didn't disaster befall Guju?
Just because the village was destroyed doesn't mean everyone was lost. But living on the edge of a knife, waiting for fate to strike you down is no life at all. I need your help to change this world for good.
So, why ask the two of us?
Any Alm would be fine, but I don't know. When I look at you two, I see a lot of me and Liza in you. That's why I need you both to help me. What do you say? Want to change the world?
I want to see the future that Val and I can make together.
Sounds like I'm at your service, Eoren.
I knew I could count on the pair of you. Hop aboard and let me show you what I found.
Did something happen to Liza and Guchu?
These days, she has a hard time moving. And it seems that she's still considered the Alm of our village, even after all these years. But I just can't let her go to the Mana Tree.
Where are you taking us?
A small island with a place called Rhaenus Shrine, where we can perform the ritual.
What ritual?
It's a ritual that allows another person to borrow the life energy of an Alm.
That sounds dangerous. Will this ritual hurt Hina in any way?
Everything will work out. Using the power of a person chosen by the elementals, I can make it so the Alms won't have to sacrifice themselves, just like in the past.
Oh, you mentioned something about that on the Prim. Is that why you're traveling the world right now?
Yep, I've been searching everywhere for a way to fix things. I'd be willing to do just about anything as long as it's for Liza.
Oh no, he's gonna betray them.
And that's how I happened upon the two of you.
Oh man, that's not good. We're gonna get... Oh, Hina's gonna disappear from the party.
What's that?
That is Rhaenus Shrine. It was built back in the time of Fadiel to honor the elementals and give thanks to the spirits.
That's the name of the setting in all the other Mana games, I
The
think.
elemental spirits are more in tune with things like this altar, so it's a good place to perform this ritual. I'm gonna head straight for the altar and get things set up. The terrain is a bit tricky here, so watch your step.
Oh man, and the music is getting heightened. Oh, this really feels the game. Oh, this is genuinely reminding me.
It really is hard to keep your footing here.
Thanks, Val. Such a mysterious place we found ourselves in. Each breath of air feels so crisp and clean. The breeze is nice too. Val, I figured out what I really want. I want to go back to Tiania. With you.
Oh no.
I hear the rumbles of our volcano as we go about our lives. Smiling, laughing, enjoying each other. Is that selfish of me?
Hina, of course it's not. I want the same thing. That's the whole reason I came here.
Really? You too? Then I'm glad it's not just me.
And we can see the volcano in the distance as she's saying it. Oh no, I'm getting a bad feeling. They're gonna be separated now. She's saying fridge things. She's about to get fridged. And by that I mean temporarily turned to stone to serve as emotional stakes for the main character. Oh no. This is where the game gets dark, I think. This is where everything is like set up. This is what's happening. And I can see it. And yet I'm walking straight into it. This game is going to be a perfect first game for a bunch of kids. Like, this is going to light a fire underneath a bunch of people. If you have a child and you want to introduce them to video games, like, this game is both seemingly pretty family friendly so far, while also being mature and, like, mature as in, like, in its qualities. I really like this. Ugh. It's good to go back to the basics a little bit. Oh, man.
Let's get started. Go stand in the center of the altar.
Hina, good luck.
Not so fast. You too, Val.
This fucker.
Me?
This ritual allows someone to borrow another's life force, remember? Hina needs your support physically to hold her up.
I'd rather you were with me anyway, Val. Please.
Oh, these
Okay.
these naive babies. All the character building it's adding up to this moment.
Is it weird that standing up here makes me nervous?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm not nervous. I'm with you. And we'll be together from here on out.
Lam ratila kon yuila mila raila fonil zara seki shakri fukri jadila roto lazula tura lola
What?
lazul
Hang on.
mula shuzra pula rela.
Oren, what are you doing? This feels like...
You've got it, Val. This ritual is actually used to draw out the abilities of people with particular powers. In other words, you, Val, can reduce living things to their essence, their core stones.
Into what?
When Liza told me about this little boy from her village who could crystallize monsters, I figured she was kidding. It sounded like a silly myth. But once I saw you in action, I realized you might be the answer I've been searching for. All I needed was the ritual in order to use your powers. And now, I'll have the core stone of an Alm. With it, I'll be one step closer to accomplishing what I set out to do. Hina! You're coming with me to Elucia Isle.
Oren! This isn't... We didn't want this! You said we could be together! We trusted you!
I had to, Val. But her sacrifice won't be in vain. I promise you.
God damn.
Val,
Hina! I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't mean to do this. It's all my fault. If I didn't have these stupid powers, you'd be...
I always thought we'd get married and have lots of children. You'd grow into a wise old man, and I'd be by your side through the years. That was the future I wanted for us.
Hina, no!
What does not wait for a lifetime, even if the light
We know what she said.
My, that is quite the quandary.
Turned into a core stone? I had noticed when monsters transformed into rocks during fights, but I didn't know it was your doing, Val.
You're sitting here feeling sorry for yourself. But Eoren isn't the only one to blame for this fiasco.
I know.
You know? Like you know that it's your whole job to prevent things like this from happening, Mr. Soulguard?
Karina, is this really the time?
No. She's right. I have no right to call myself a soul guard.
You won't even stand up for yourself? Pathetic.
How should we proceed?
What do you mean? You all still have a duty to fulfill at the Mana Tree. And Val is still charged with protecting the Alms along the way. That hasn't changed. With the loss of the Alm of Fire, the village of Tiania is in grave danger. The longer you hesitate, the wider the damage may spread.
But how can I possibly make it to the Mana Tree when I can't even protect a single person?
Where do you think you're going?
Karina, leave him be. I know how you feel, but you're only pouring salt into the wound at this point.
Oh, come on, Morley. Don't tell me you're not mad at Val, too.
Of course I am. But yelling at him now won't help. He should have talked to us before taking Hina on this fool's errand. But what's done is done.
I just don't get it. How could this have happened to Hina?
We received word this morning that Dorfer Volcano is active. The extent of the damage is not yet known. Eruptions will scorch the earth with fire from every fissure, so goes the saying. The village is vulnerable.
What about Val? If he quits, will we have to make the pilgrimage to the Mana Tree on our own?
A complex conundrum to be sure. I do not think it wise to withdraw with Val in this state.
Perhaps I can make Val see reason. All he needs is a nudge in the right direction. Leave this to me. Consider it payment from your assistance with my wrongful imprisonment.
Father knows what he's doing. Let him try.
Yeah, well, maybe you can knock some sense into that thick head of his.
He's suffered enough as it is. I doubt he could handle another blow to his mind or body after what he's been through.
I have a duty to the rest of the Alms. They need protection. They need me. But how can I protect everyone when I'm the reason Hina... And how do I even face them? I wish none of this had ever happened. Once we get back, if we'd never left the pier, everything would be different, Hina.
Man.